My name is Tebo Maekiso, or as I'm called in the UK and the rest of the world, it's Sibo. South African, born and bred. That was a life-changing, truly enriching experience.
Hi, welcome on this channel. My name is Idris Lawali Abdu. I'm software engineer and the founder of Karatou Postback, a mobile app that helps you in your academic orientation. And on this channel, I develop academic related content in order to help you guys to have the best information you need to succeed in your education. So today we are going to talk about Chevening and Chevening scholarship with a Chevener, and he will share his experience, his journey during his studies in the UK with you. And I hope you will enjoy this content. If you are a subscriber, welcome back. And if you are new, you have to go to subscribe to this channel in order to stay tuned and informed about our new content. So don't hesitate. If you have any comments, if you have any question, to put them in the comment side, and we will be grateful to help you with any answer we will have. So let's go. Go. Hello. Hi, Sebo. How are you?
I'm good, Idris. How are you doing?
I'm good too. Thank you for your time. Thank you to join us today to talk about the Chevening scholarship. So to share your journey with this scholarship in UK.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm quite excited to actually, one, be on this podcast. I've watched it a couple of times. And I must say, although it's in French, I do enjoy the content that you show people. And then secondly, just to take people on my journey and especially from a Chevening perspective, I'm quite excited to actually talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. And it's my first video in English. So I hope that the audience will enjoy it and make some videos like that. And because I think there are many other people that would like to have their information we share every time on a channel.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
okay, so let's go. Before we will first start to I will first start to ask you to present yourself to our audience, please.
Okay. So like you said, my name is Tebo Maekiso, or as I'm called in the UK and the rest of the world, it's Sibo. South African, born and bred. I'm an accountant by trade, chartered accountant by training. And I've mostly been involved in finance work for large multinational organizations, mostly in South Africa. I've got broadly 6 years experience. Spent some in automotive within Toyota South Africa, acting as a strategic finance business partner there, and then moved on to Barclays Africa, which is now called Absa Bank. So again, strategic finance roles where I was helping transform costs in order to be able to be competitive and increase margins for those organizations. Most recently, though, I've just had the pleasure and the unique pleasure of getting a Chevening scholarship to represent South Africa and also do my MBA at Warwick at the same time. That was a life-changing, truly enriching experience where I look back at that time with tremendous fondness, even though it was disrupted by COVID. But again, that's the nature of the world we live in these days. So I did my MBA at Warwick, 2019 to 2020, and I was a recipient of a Chevening scholarship, which I anticipate will be the focus of this conversation today. So I'll leave it at that. But I think beyond my professional, sorry, I need to talk about this, beyond my professional experience, which is largely in finance, one of my passions, which I think is what got me the Chevening scholarship, one of my deep-rooted passions is social development and upliftment, specifically using education as a vehicle for empowering our societies and our communities at large. So for me, how I went about to do this was twofold. One, I used to be a lecturer for a CIMA tuition provider, which is the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants in South Africa. So I used to lecture strategy courses there on my weekends. And then secondly, myself and a syndicate of like-minded individuals, we started an NGO which would help previously disadvantaged or the marginalized in our societies in the townships of South Africa with education resources from a tuition standpoint, but also going beyond just how do we enhance and magnify additional learning for kids, but also saying how do we mentor young kids and how do we coach them in order to be able to effectively navigate their formative years and their secondary and high school years. So truly passionate about giving back and truly passionate about using education as a lever to be able to give back.
Cool. We share the same passion and we come from different country and
definitely.
Know that. And okay, cool. And in your presentation, you talk about Chevening. You are an alumni from 2020. Could you please tell us more about what it is? What is Chevening? And
yeah, sure. That's a very good question, Idris, and I think that's a great starting point for us today. So Chevening is a scholarship given by the Commonwealth or British government, and I think they have two scholarships from a British government standpoint. One would be the Commonwealth, and I stand to be corrected on this, but the other one, their flagship one, is Chevening. So the British government has bilateral, obviously, relationships with most emerging countries around the world. And I think for Chevening, they specifically target countries which or individuals who want to do a master's degree in any of the institutions around the UK. So for anyone who wants to go and do a master's degree in the UK, again, there's a wide ranging a portfolio or courses that one can choose. It's not specifically targeted at one specific course or module or area of interest. It's diverse. I had doctors in my cohort. I particularly did an MBA, people with law degrees and background. So it targets anyone who is a leader or shows leadership potential and wants to significantly do great in this world. So you have to want to change some of the structural systemic issues within the world. So be it climate change, be it women empowerment, be it education reform, be it legal and public policy reform. So it cuts across all different sectors. It cuts across all different modes of interest for people, and it empowers and gives us an opportunity. People like you and me who are coming from countries where maybe access to education is limited, to give us that platform to be able to go and study at institutions in the UK and gain lifelong new perspectives and lifelong memories.
Okay, cool. Very interesting. So according to your experience, when is the best or time to apply in terms of career?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So let's take a step back there. So when you say best time to apply, you're saying as an individual, what do I think in my experience is the best time for someone to live their job, live what they're doing and go and study? Is that the question here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll first start by prefacing that and saying it depends on the individual, right? So some people are in the stage of their lives where they want radical change. Some people want to further expand on their capabilities. Some people want to completely shift careers and pivot into new areas of work. Some people just want to break from work. So I wouldn't specifically say there is a correct time and juncture in someone's life to go and partake in further education. But I would say it is a decision that needs to be thought of quite robustly. So people need to, because it's a huge undertaking and it's a huge sacrifice, and it is also a huge commitment. So people need to really know why they want to go and study in the UK, especially from a Chevening perspective, if you want the scholarship. So I know people who were married with 2 kids, have been married for 15 years. I also know people like me who had 6 years experience and were looking to gain life experience and do things that they probably hadn't done before. So I'm not married. So for me, it was just me and myself and no one else. So I needed to, I felt it was the right time after 6 years. I was 28 years old and I wanted to go and go to the UK. But I have, I've heard of stories of people who are 67 years old who have a Chevening. I think this year's cohort has someone who's in their 60s who wants to do a master's in the UK. So you can do it whenever you're ready, but when you do decide, just make sure it's something that you've thoroughly thought about, and your why, especially your why do you want to do it, should be crystal clear.
Okay, cool. Nice transition then, because I'm going to ask you why to apply to this scholarship. What can be a benefit for our students, for example?
Yeah, man. Why did I want to do it? Or why did I go and do an MBA and then get a scholarship? For me, let's take a step back and let's go back to what I said about my career. I'd worked for 6 years. I'd worked for some of the biggest multinationals across the globe, because Toyota and Barclays are global names. For me, it was looking at that and saying, I'm adding value and my capabilities are being enhanced and I'm being challenged, but the work that I'm doing only impacts one company. And I wanted to impact the larger community and the larger society. So yes, it's great that my work is impacting Barclays Africa or Absa Bank. Yes, it's great that my work is impacting Toyota South Africa, but I want to be able to impact across the spectrum. So it didn't sit well with me that all my efforts were going towards one profit and loss statement for one company. Yes, that organization is an agent of society, and then it has its social responsibility. But for me, it didn't feel like I was directly impacting people's lives, organizations' lives, multiple organizations' lives. So and then that was one area. I just wanted to go into an industry or go into a job where I could really impact multiple organizations or the community at large. So those are careers like venture capital, where you don't work with one company, but we work with a myriad of startup founders, or that can be consulting, where you work across industries, across different companies. So I wanted that type of experience. And I thought the MBA would be able to do that for me. My why was I wanted to impact, more impact at a magnified scale. And I wanted to be challenged and try to solve meaningful, large scale sort of challenges and issues, and not just purely be concentrated within one firm. So that was my why.
Okay. And what can be benefits for a student, for example, to go to the UK to study and scholarship?
Good question. I think the biggest one is you learn more about yourself. You really get to think about it, Idris. You live your comfort zone, which is your home, and you've done this multiple times. You've left your home country in Africa and you went and studied in France. Yes, it's a francophone country. Yes, there's similarities in a cultural standpoint, but you still did it, and you went and studied in France. You more than me mostly can be able to tell me the benefits that it has done for you. It accelerates your growth, right? You move away from what we call the proverbial comfort zone, and you get into a space where you need to learn a different culture. You're all alone. Yes, you have friends, and technology has made it easy for us to connect with our loved ones now, which is great. But you really get to hone in on self-development. You really get to hone in on self-awareness. Your leadership skills on top of that are enhanced, because interrelationship skills where you need to learn new people, new cultures, new ways of doing things. Even something as simple as which bus stop to take, right? Which bus to take, which route to take. So all of those things are character building. So it really is a great opportunity from a personal development standpoint. But now let's speak about professional development. It's also an incredible opportunity to go and learn at institutions that are renowned in the world. These are the best institutions in the world in advanced economies that have produced world-class leaders. So you are in an environment of learning, you are in an environment where it is world-class, and your skills that you acquire and accumulate there will be able to be transferable to any situation. You meet some of the greatest people you'll ever meet, and you build lifelong bonds, right? So I can go back to any of the people who I was in an MBA cohort with in 5, 10, 15, even 20 years, and reach out to those people if I've got a venture, if I've got an idea, if I want to enact some social change. And those people will be willing to assist me because of the bonds that we actually formulated and strengthened through in that 1 year. So it cuts across the spectrum, right? So there's so many things. I can't just focus on one. But if you really had to make me choose, it's my personal development, how I grew as a leader, how I grew as a person, how my perspective was broadened and widened, and how I see the world now is completely different than how I saw the world 18 months ago. And it also allowed me the opportunity to meet you and converse with you and start to obviously build a friendship with you going forward.
Cool. Thank you for your for this interesting information sharing with us. And my next question will be about the Chevening Scholar itself. What are the conditions to meet in order to apply or to expect to get the scholarship?
Yeah, that's also a great question. So for anyone who's interested, where this podcast or this video will spark an interest, or even will just raise your antenna to actually start to go and research Chevening. So one, there's no age limit, which is great. Two, you can come from any background in the world. Literally, you can be an arts major, or like myself, an accountant major, or a law major, or an education specialist. You can literally have any type of background that you want, and you'll be able to qualify for this scholarship. They are very specific, though, and very particular about this type of skill set that you have. You need to be a leader. You need to have an appetite for wanting to solve critical challenges. And again, it doesn't have to be large scale. You can be a leader in your own community, your own background. You can be, like myself, helping kids through education. You could be a leader within institutions, commercial institutions. Leadership is broad, right? It's not concentrated within one area of expertise. Leadership is quite broad, and people can be leaders in multiple spheres. So, but you need to be a leader. You need to want to do, see, and enable change in the world. Yeah. You also need to be a great networker. Relationship and bilateral relationships between your country and the UK need to be strengthened through you as that agent. So you need to be a connector of people, network across multiple cultures and spheres of interest. So you really need to enhance. And again, we speak about networking and people quiver away because we have people who are not sort of extroverts out there. Yeah. And I'll challenge those people and say, you don't really need to be an extrovert to be able to network. All you need is interest from both parties, where people are willing to help and another one is willing to help. One has some skill, one has another skill, and those people can actually form a relationship that can enhance what they could do individually. It's all about collaboration. It's all about coordination. And it's all about collective efforts and shared value. And that's essentially the ethos of what Chevening is about. How do we as individuals across the world in our own siloed environments collaborate together in order to create magnified and amplified growth across our different regions, across our different cultures, and make the world better? through this agent or change or vehicle that is called Chevening. That's in essence what Chevening is about. It's about connecting people who have never connected, and how those people can interact with each other to be able to create change in even the smallest areas. Someone from Nepal who in India or Singapore who's doing great things with women empowerment can talk to someone in South Africa who's doing great things around diversity inclusion. And those people can connect and learn lessons that have worked in Nepal or India or Singapore, and take those and transfer them and modify them and adjust them to work within environments in South Africa. That's the relationships, and those are the networks that we're trying to build. So you need to be a leader. You need to be a person who's willing to network. Remember, you can build those skills. And then you need to be someone who's passionate about something. You really need to find what your niche is, what your why is, what gets you up in the morning, what drives you, what motivates you. And you need to know that. And you need to really be good at that, I believe. Or you need to have put in steps for you to actually start being good at that. So I'll leave it at there for now, but leader, networker, and have a passion for really doing what you do best.
Okay, cool. Thank you for this wide explanation. Interesting. And now, do you remember the process? What is the process from applying to the final decision, maybe?
Yeah, I do, Idris. And it's quite a long process. And naturally so, because you are trying to select the best of the best. You are trying to select leaders who will go on to represent Chevening on world stages, and even at lower levels than that, within their societies, within their communities, within their institutions. So you really want to unearth gems that will be great ambassadors for Chevening. So naturally, so it is a long, quite robust process. So it starts off, I think, in November of the previous year. So we are in 2021 now. So anyone who's applying now will want to apply for 2022, for instance. So applications will open in November of 2021. So this upcoming November. Will open in September. September or August, September of 2021. And you will have 3 months or 12 weeks of that application period. And then it will close in November of that year. So during that period where applications are opened, there are usually essays that Chevening wants you to write. So someone will dedicate their time to really writing those essays to the best of their ability that will show them in the best light. There are questions that they want you to ask, centered around leadership, centered around networking, centered around your why. So why now? Why the career field that you've chosen? Why Chevening? Why the UK? So again, going back to the proverbial question, why? You really need to know your why. And then those two attributes are capabilities that I spoke about, leadership and networking. People, they really want to know that. So there's that application period where you write several essays. In November, applications close, and Chevening will assess and will get back to people in January or February of the following year, where people will either progress to interview stage, or some unfortunately will be declined or not successful at that particular point in time. So January, February are selections for people who will actually move on to the next stage, which is the interview stage. And then the interviews generally commence around March and April across the globe. They're quite coordinated. And then if someone is successful from the interview stage, then they will get a conditional offer in around June of that year. And they will have 3 to 6 weeks where they need to furnish Chevening with administrative documents, such as, do you have an offer from a school in the UK? Have you done your English competency tests? So all the administrative things that Chevening requires for you to be able to get a visa to go into the UK and study in the UK, you'll be given sufficient time to be able to get those. Once you have a conditional offer from a school, once you've done your English competency tests and all other administrative tasks that Chevening requires from people, then you will get in July an unconditional offer. And that's when we can celebrate. That's when you have officially become a Chevening scholar. And then from there, between July and September, when the next academic year starts, you will be getting accommodation from the school or getting your own accommodation. You'll be getting flights to the UK, and your life from that point will be truly exciting and waiting to go to the UK.
Oh, cool. Thank you for showing us through the process and with clear insight. And according to, let's talk about, a bit about the universities. I think it's up to the student to search for the university to secure a conditional offer. And the student has to had this conditional offer before the interview or before the final decisions, I think.
That's a great question. So the nuances of that or the specifics of that are when you go into the interview, you just need to know which institution, the 3 institutions you want to go to. You don't have to have conditional offers by then. You need to have conditional offers by the cutoff in July, though. So after you've been successful, you get a conditional offer from Chevening, and then they'll give you sufficient time afterwards. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Cut off. Hello.
I'm here.
Okay, great. And then from July, okay, great. From June, once you get the offer, you have a couple of weeks afterwards to get an unconditional offer. So the cutoff is in July. So when you go for your interview, all you need to know is the 3 that you have. And sometimes people do change the order of their 3. And I stand to be corrected here, but you can also change, maybe you add a school or subtract a school, depending on your likelihood or your appetite to choose a relevant school for you. But definitely no conditional offer. You don't need to have a conditional offer by the time you do your interview. I didn't have a conditional offer by the time I did my interview, but I knew which 3 schools I wanted. And by the time I got a conditional offer from Chevening, I had my unconditional offers.
Okay, cool. Okay, interesting. And so now let's move on the interview side, and let's talk about the interview, because I think it's one of the most important steps. So secure. So share your experience with your advice, and I don't know if you remember the questions that can be asked. If you can talk a bit about that too.
Sure. Do I remember the questions? I think I do. I think I do. Not everyone, not all of them, but I think I do some. But let's structure this a bit. So the interview is an opportunity for you to talk about and demonstrate your capabilities that you highlighted in your essays, right? So remember we spoke about the essay and we said they focus on leadership, they focus on your ability to network, and they focus on your whys, right? So essentially those are the building blocks, and those are the foundation of everything. Now they want to see, can you take what you wrote and make it come alive in an environment where you're now communicating that verbally to people? Are you what you say you are on your interview? On your essay page, or are those 2 people completely different? So I always tell people to embrace the interview, because that's an opportunity for you to truly highlight all your strengths and all your achievements. And typically people, and it's human nature, people tend to downplay their achievements. But in this instance, I want people to really, shine a spotlight on their achievements and speak about their achievement in a very, very proud way. And don't be shy about your achievements. That's what you've done, but be honest about your achievements, right? And have some integrity around them. So the interview is really around getting to know you, getting to understand what your passions and your motivations are, getting to understand what your why is, and getting to get a sense of, are you the type of leader that Chevening is looking for? And will you be able to effectively network and be a great ambassador for Chevening in the UK? Now, some of the questions are around, tell us your greatest accomplishment and your greatest sort of achievement to date. What challenges did you find on your way to accomplishing that? What skills and competencies and capabilities did you draw on to be able to drive end-to-end implementation of that? Why was it particularly challenging? Why is it a greatest accomplishment? What leadership skills did you use? What influencing skills did you use? What networking skills did you use? What is leadership to you? What does it mean to you? And how have you demonstrated leadership in your past? Also, what is networking to you and how is it? And then they also move on to what are your plans? How do you plan on enacting change? So what do you plan on doing once you come back into the country beyond the master's year? And how do you plan on doing that? Is it practical? Is it feasible? And then we speak around that. We speak about why you chose the 3 institutions that you chose. Are you someone who applies their mind in terms of thinking about things, or do you just do it without due process and consideration? So they want to understand that you really know the schools that you're going to, what those schools are good at, and how those schools will help you and shape you in becoming the type of leader that you want to be. So they really ask probing questions, but relevant questions, because these are relevant questions if you're gonna sort of offer someone a significant scholarship. They also ask about so why the UK and how you're going to actually be a great ambassador in the UK. So are you going to be involved in any community-based initiatives? Are you going to try to do new things? Are you going to immerse yourself into British culture? What do you actually know about Britain and the bilateral ties that it has with your country? So all of that, it's a broad spectrum. And I know I'm being very broad now, but those are relevant sort of questions to ask someone, especially when they want a 40,000, 50,000, 60,000 pound scholarship,
Yeah. Okay, thank you for this information. And if there is a priceless advice you can give for someone who is going to pass the interview or to prepare for it, what will it be?
Really, it's really twofold. One, know your story. So do the research, be competent, and do not take it for granted that you really need to know yourself. You really need to know your why. You really need to articulate and communicate your accomplishments in a way that someone else who even is not from that field can be able to relate to it. They don't need to understand it, but they can be able to relate to what you say. So you really need to somewhat get your ducks in a row. So practice and select the stories or accomplishments that put you in the best light. Understand why you want to go to the UK. Understand what you're passionate about, because people are not one-dimensional. People, I call them multiverse. So people have multiple passions. Choose the one that relates to what you want to go into. So your story must be convergent. So, and there needs to it's sort of like storytelling. It needs to have a focal point, and then every single other moving part needs to be able to enhance or add on to that focal element. So you can't tell me you want to do education, but you've never been involved in any education initiatives, right? So there needs to be some convergence and synergy there. So know your story, practice. Do mock interviews with your friends, do mock interviews with your family, do mock interviews with Chevening alumni, reach out to Chevening alumni. Those people typically have an appetite to want to help people. and just make sure you practice, make sure you know your story, and make sure your story is one that is compelling and is linked to your essays. So that's one. It's called the due diligence aspect of it. The other element is be yourself. Be comfortable in who you are. It's an interview, and people are typically, because people want these scholarships, right? And these are life-altering scholarships. We understand the nature of the scholarship, but sometimes, if you're nervous, that's great. That means you care about it. But I was nervous 5 minutes going into the interview, right? But I allowed myself to show my personality. You can show your personality even in a professional setting, right? So be yourself and be true to yourself. Do not try to be someone else you're not. Do not try to be more professional. Do not try to sound like someone else. Do not try to speak in a way that you've never done before. So be yourself, have faith in yourself, and back yourself. That's the greatest advice someone told me, is truly, because what makes you you is your unique strength. No one else in the world can be who you are. So tap into that and truly, truly, truly show your best foot forward. So those are the two elements. It's preparation, 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 but also once you've prepared and you have enough confidence in yourself, now show your true self. If you'd like to make jokes, make jokes. I make jokes because that's who I am. I'm an impressionable guy, and I was making jokes, but in a professional setting. So that interview panel, I left there and it was a good vibe. We were talking about multiple areas, even outside of what we were actually supposed to be talking there with. And that's who I am. I'm a person who likes to, as much as they are looking for me to get a scholarship, I was also looking at them to sort of see, hey, are these the type of people, is this the type of institution and a type of scholarship that I want to be associated with? So it's a back and forth, but you truly need to be true to yourself, and that will set you apart from anyone in the world. Your skill is the critical, you being you is a critical success factor. And it's what will make you get the scholarship or not get the scholarship at the end of the day.
Cool, cool. Thank you. I hope that you, who is like looking at this movie, and you are like aware about what just Sebo just said, and you will apply this on your interview if you get the chance to go to the interview stage. And don't hesitate to subscribe to our channel in order to receive more contents when they will be available. So at the beginning of this interview, you said that you have studied an MBA, and I think there is a fee caps on the MBA's masters for Chevening. So let's talk about that, and how can you give us some tips maybe to avoid paying the rest, because we know that MBA master are expensive.
It is expensive. So I'm going to talk about multiple ways. So the first way is trying to find a school that offers an MBA that is within the cap. Right? And there are lots of schools in the UK who offer MBAs within that Chevening fee cap. So that is one area. The other area is to get and try to obtain scholarships from the school to supplement that. So if you get, and I know schools are willing to give scholarships up to 50%. So if you get a 50% scholarship from the school that you will be going to, and you get the Chevening amount, which I'm assuming is also around, let's say, 50% of the school fees, and don't quote me on that, but it's also quite a significant undertaking. You will have either been 95% of the way there or 90% there, but you would have had or paid a huge chunk of it. So that was my strategy. Get a scholarship from the school, which I managed to get a great scholarship from the school. I think I got 50%, and then get your Chevening scholarship. It ended up for me being I didn't have to actually pay anything for my Chevening scholarship. So that is one sure way of doing it. And then the other one is there are a lot of financial services firms that sort of are geared to a student, so which have favorable interest rate terms, which have favorable repayment rate terms, and which have favorable credit credit application terms. So from the top of my head, there was the name of it has left me now. But if people can go on any search engine on Google and just search those loan credit facilities for students. I know there was one that was made by MBA kids for MBA scholars. Those are usually favorable. So because I also went on them and I checked to see whether I'd qualify. I qualified. I checked the payment terms. And when I looked at the interest rate and I looked at the payment terms, I think you can only pay after 3 or 6 months after your qualification, your first payment. And the rate was really favorable. And when I looked at the amount of repayment for that loan, I was sold, because that amount would have literally been nothing compared to what I would have paid at a bank. And then the other element, which I am aware is there's a certain level of privilege that you need to get here, is savings, right? So I know people who have had savings, utilize their savings, get a scholarship from the school, and then a scholarship from Chevening. So that approach is literally around how do you use multiple sources of finance to be able to source and fund your MBA. So those are really the three areas that I could advise people. But if you are getting, and I'll say this, if you are getting an interview to go and talk to the people at Chevening, I can guarantee you that you have a high likelihood or a high chance of getting a scholarship from a school that you are interested in. So you are essentially top 5% of the population. So you have the skills, and at least on paper, you look incredibly, you're a strong candidate and with strong credentials. So I would advise people to be confident in themselves, and institutions and universities generally have a lot of latitude to international students in terms of offering scholarships. So that's the best way, and those are the three areas that I'd give advice for people who are looking at that fee cap and were despondent, or were not excited, because then that's a lot of money coming out from their own pocket. So there are ways, and don't let that stop you from applying. You'd be surprised at how Chevening works hand in hand with the MBA scholars to be able to try and find other sources of funding for them. So Chevening also doesn't let you go. They do try and help you as much as they can, because at the end of the day, we are all one big Chevening family, and we sort of help each other.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for these tips. I think they will be really interesting for more students that didn't know, actually, because as you said it, people are afraid, actually, when they see they saw the fee caps, and they say, "Oh no, I can't afford this." So I will...
Exactly. Sorry, the institution that I forgot for loans for students who want to do an MBA is called Prodigy Finance. Prodigy Finance is one institution that offers loans to people who are going to do a master's degree in general, and MBAs at a more granular level. So Prodigy Finance has favorable terms, and this is not an advert or an endorsement of Prodigy. It's a really good service. So I always try to talk about those guys as much as I can.
Okay, cool. So let's talk about your experience and your experience at Warwick. So,
Yeah. Great school. Great
tell us
school.
more about Warwick and your experience there.
Great school. Great school. Let's talk about the things that people look for first. So rankings, it's up there. I mean, I think one of these ranking institutions has just named the online version of our MBA as the first in the world. I think it's Financial Times or something along those lines. The Economist named us, I think, the fourth in the UK. The Economist and Fortune, Financial Times. So all of these ranking bodies, Warwick is in the UK and in Europe at large, is really a top institution. Now let's talk about Warwick as a school is also a great institution. The business school on itself independently is a great institution. And what makes a great institution? So you as an MBA student, you want to learn from competent professors, so professors of practice and professors of theory. Warwick Business School has some great facilitators in that regard. You also want to be able to learn from your cohort because an MBA is all about practical experiential learning. And Warwick MBA really attracts some of the best talent across the world. I think we had 44 nationalities in my cohort, far-flung across multiple industries. And the conversations in an MBA classroom, sometimes you do learning amongst yourselves and the insights and the experience people and how the angles that they were looking and perspectives that they were looking at problems. And when they shared that, I would always, every single day, I'd learn something new from my classmates. And I'd always be interested to hear what someone from a different environment than me, a different culture, different industry than me, different even speciality than me, how they saw that problem. And you really grow and enhance and your ways. And you really shackle those mental models because some of us are very rigid in the way we see the world. So the Warwick MBA will allow you to unlearn, relearn quite quickly. And so we spoke about the cohort and then the careers team. My goodness, I really love those ladies in those career team and gentlemen in that career team because they take a very tailored approach. They care for you and they want to understand. And then they give you the tools, right? They give you the tools to be able to navigate your way through uncertain times in the job search front. So they have the front-facing guys who network with industry and companies, and then you go on treks, you go on international trips, you go on webinars, but you really have this corridor where you can really talk to industry and leverage the Warwick name. And that name and that brand name is actually respected within industry. So you can really go to multiple organizations across Europe, UK, and beyond. And that name will open doors for you that otherwise would have been closed. So a careers team is doing a tremendous job. I must commend them for that. And then the tailored one-on-one careers sessions you have with your own personal coach who looks at you, looks at your background and looks at you in a holistic manner. And then you try to design and then execute on a journey and a plan for you to be able to land or discover first, and then land in your desired destination post your MBA. And then, yeah, so I'm really fond of the careers team. And then beyond now the school, what you do in Coventry, Warwick Business School has a campus in London. So, and London is an hour and a half from Warwick or Coventry. And you can go to the Shard, which is the campus, Warwick Business School campus. And you can go to the Shard and you can have access to London and London organizations. And you can learn or attend, this is pre-COVID, but I think even beyond COVID, you can go and learn at the Shard in London. some of your electives. You can have blended classes with exec MBAs. Once you start doing your executives, you've got international trip to Shanghai, to Canada, and to Italy. It cares a lot about sustainability. It cares a lot about entrepreneurship, and it's at the forefront of strategy and strategy work on the continent. So not on the continent, but in the UK. So it's I can go on and on about Warwick, but the main topic, the main issue is that they are a tremendous school, and it's a great investment to make going to Warwick. And of course, I'm biased, but I don't think you would have called me on this show if you didn't think I was biased when it comes to that. So, hey, true to form.
It's really important everything you said, and I think people that are looking for university have to also look like first this type of information, and that's why I asked you to explain and tell more about, because I know that it's one of the top university in the UK and even in Europe.
Yeah. No, great. And then just one more thing around that, and people who look like me, and I'm assuming your audience who watches these podcasts and videos are from Africa and Francophone countries and parts of Europe with African heritage. So it's got a burgeoning Africa society. So Warwick Africa Society is one that really has made strides within the last 5 years. And the Warwick Africa conference was literally in January or February. And it attracts world leaders, heads of states. In my year, we had as the keynote speaker, Fred Sonica, who's revered in Africa for wanting to use education with his Africa Leadership University. And to sort of create 10,000, or I don't know what the number is by 2030, but it's an extraordinary number. So the Africa Society, especially for the Africa diaspora, is tremendous within the African continent, and it attracts a lot of Africans, and you really feel a community-based sort of kinship within Warwick. So that's another great drawing card for people who have African heritage, who really also want to understand other African cultures and African heritage. You really meet people who care about Pan-Africa a lot, and use that society as a way to enhance their knowledge of the continent.
Well. Okay, thank you for this interesting information. I learned a lot through this discussion, and I hope that the audience also will learn a lot about Chevening, about Warwick, about studying in UK. So we are almost at the end of our conversation, our discussion.
Oh no! Are we so quickly?
Yeah. I know. And what are your advice for people that are willing to apply to Chevening, or advice in order to ace the interview, or all these steps? So go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the advice, Idris, is similar to what I spoke about earlier on around interviews. Is really do your diligence and be confident in yourself and truly be yourself. But let's expand that advice to just people who want to go and study in the UK, who want to get the Chevening scholarship, and who see themselves as leaders. And I'm sure I'm speaking to the converted here, but one lesson that I took away from my year is really be curious, be intellectually curious. Because it all stems from there. You and where you are now, it stemmed from curiosity. You wanted to understand what makes that work. How does that work? How does this function? why aren't there enough resources that really tap into people's stories? And you created this wonderful platform. That was essentially when you look back at it and you zero in on what drove that decision, it was your intellectual curiosity. And I always ask people, examine your curiosity, look at yourself. How curious are you? And are you curious about one thing? Or are you curious about multiple divergent things? For me, I always look at myself and I say, hey, I'm interested in financial markets. I'm interested in business and commerce. But what about philosophy? What about the history of warfare? What about politics? And I challenge myself to have a vested interest in not just sustainability from a climate change standpoint. What about women empowerment and structural inequality within my community? So I challenge myself to be an all-round citizen. Yes, I'm going to specialize and I'm going to get a depth of experience, but I also need the breadth of knowledge. And that stems from curiosity, right? So now my current venture is on psychology and human behavior, right? Behavioral science and how that is influencing the world. And that's what I'm reading on now. I'm reading on issues around human behavior, human psyche, and all of those nuances around that field and that particular area of interest for me. So really boils down to your curiosity. And if you want to do an MBA or any master's degree across the world, you have a heightened level of curiosity embedded inherently within you. So expand that, right? Enhance that, and really, really be curious about how things function, how the world around you works. And I guarantee you start being curious and you couple that with a mindset of continuous growth, where you expand and add on your capabilities. You will be a showcase leader in this world, and you will be an influential being that will be able to influence those generations before or upcoming generations, and you'll really make some meaningful impact in this world. So that's my advice. Be curious, and then the proverbial one: work hard, sacrifice, and have fun in all of it. Embrace ambiguity, embrace volatility, embrace change. The only constant thing that we know is change. So you need to be able to be comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's where the growth happens. Never happens when you're comfortable, never happens on your couch. It happens outside in the real world where you're uncomfortable, where you are breaking boundaries and pushing the envelope of what you think you can do. And then you'll break through and then you'll continue that whole cycle. It's a virtual cycle. You learn something new, you get comfortable, you want to learn something better. So be curious, embrace change, have fun, and make meaningful interactions on your journey to being a world leader, on your journey to being a person who actually makes significant impact in the societies in which they live in. So that's my advice in a nutshell.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I hope that you carefully listen what Sebo just said, and be a leader, have fun, be curious, and also don't hesitate to ask questions in comments in the bottom of the video, and also share with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And that's all the information we hope we like bring to you, and that will help you in your process, in your career, in your and it can be an inspiration for you. And I hope you learn a lot. And if you want to share what you learn with us, just put it in the comment side, and we can discuss about it. So thank you, Sebo, for your time. Thank you for being available to share all this priceless information with our audience. And I don't know if you have a last word you want to tell this nice audience.
No, I think you've done a great job, and thank you for having me. It's truly I've enjoyed this conversation. I think you're doing well. I'd like to direct it to you and give you your flowers. I think you're doing well in your journey. It can't be easy. You shattering and you pioneering and you trailblazing in your own right. And I hope you are proud of yourself. And I hope you continue creating these ecosystems where people can come in, be the best versions of themselves, expand on that, and just create societies where we continuously are learning from each other and continuously engaging on various topics that will move the needle forward in creating societies that are agents of change and creating societies that are, catalysts and incubators for people to enhance not only their capabilities, but also, develop character men and women. So kudos to you, kudos to your viewers, and if anyone wants to reach out, I am on LinkedIn, and we can continue conversations there. So thank you for having me, and Godspeed to everyone.
Thank you. So bye-bye. Stay connected.
Cheers.